Hi, this is our fifth and final episode of our BE series about the Tudors. Now we are going to talk about Elizabeth I. Anna, I don't know if you know, but in 2002, the BBC ran a poll asking the British who they consider the greatest Briton of all time. And guess what? Elizabeth I arrived 7th. So what is it so fascinating about her?
Well, Elizabeth is, a figure of enduring fascination. And I think, first of all, the fact that she was a woman and an unmarried woman at a time when women were absolutely expected to marry. And of course, not only they were expected to marry, but it was believed at the time through medical discourse and so on that actually women were more sexually voracious than men. And actually, therefore, how could a woman control herself and remain a virgin? And therefore, marriage was absolutely crucial. And also for women's health, it was very important for them to sort of have regular sex. And therefore, of course, that could only be possible in marriage. So there was a sort of sense of how could it be true that she, that she never actually, married and remained a virgin. So I think that is still today one of the big questions. Was she or wasn't she a virgin? And I try and sort of look at that a bit in my new book, and that's clearly one of the reasons that I think attracts people to her. However, also, Elizabeth was the queen of propaganda, the queen of image. She controlled her image spectacularly and quite deliberately. The fact that over the course of Elizabeth's reign, she grows from being a 20-something attractive young woman to a woman of almost 70, with rotting teeth, a balding head, and so on. But actually, the image that we consider when we think of Elizabeth, and those images in portraits are actually of a spectacularly glamorous, unchanging woman who doesn't seem to grow old. Well, that was absolutely how it was supposed to be. Elizabeth controlled her image. She wouldn't allow painters to show her getting old. So in a way, I think again that's something that she, was so successful at, and that again that we sort of in a way have fallen for the Elizabethan spin of seeing this very glamorous queen, who in many ways kind of, people think of as the first Queen of England in a way. That she's very much overshadowed Mary, and that was of course one of the reasons was because of the longevity of her reign, and also the defeat of the Spanish Armada, which is, I think, crucial. And the latest Hollywood Elizabeth film that was a few years ago with Cate Blanchett, all the billboards had the image of Elizabeth at Tilbury in armour on a white horse. We don't know whether she in fact wore armour at Tilbury, but that doesn't actually matter for Hollywood. That's how we think of her. And in that sense, Elizabeth has been seen as this kind of English heroine, this Protestant heroine who defeated the invading armies of Spain. The fact that actually it was more a victory for the English weather than perhaps Elizabeth herself. In other words, that that the storms on in the English Channel scattered the Spanish forces, and actually it was less about Elizabeth's own sort of strategy and sort of prowess. We don't need to worry about that. That's a sort of, for the public image or the popular image of Elizabeth, she was the great national heroine. And I think, for all the kind of personal reasons about the sort of preoccupations with her private life, but also the fact that she was this strong woman in a man's world, defying expectation, I think, and that she oversaw a victory in a military victory. I think those are the things that, in a way, cement her reputation.
In your research to write your book, did you come across any facts that you didn't know or surprised you?
I think what really surprised me was the fact that although, Elizabeth is famously considered the Virgin Queen, that actually people were saying throughout her reign everything but, that actually for many people she was, the whore of Europe. Of course she was the daughter of Anne Boleyn, who for many people was the great whore, the cause of the break with Rome, and by being Anne Boleyn's daughter, Elizabeth was kind of guilty by association. But it was more than that. By not marrying and behaving in a way that was seen as compromising of our honour, with her relationships, her flirtations with characters such as Robert Dudley and others, that actually there was a whole kind of rumour, scandal, suspicion in England and abroad about Elizabeth's behaviour. And particularly, her opponents, her Catholic opponents, would question her virginity, the state of her body, whether she was healthy, whether she had a kind of womanish infirmity which meant she couldn't have children. The extent to which Elizabeth's body was at issue and whether in fact she was a virgin, I think was really striking to me. And also on her death, the fact that, completely kind of contrary to convention at the time, where monarchs' bodies would be opened, disemboweled and, you know, filled with preservatives and so on in advance of their funerals, which often, you know, were a month or so after their death, which was the case with Elizabeth, she seemingly stated quite explicitly that her body should not be opened on her death. And, you know, the suggestion is that, first of all, that it seems that this wish was honoured, that this was followed, that, you know, her body was defended in death by her women and it wasn't opened. But, you know, that raises all kinds of questions. Why? You know, was Elizabeth trying to protect her body from suspicion in death? Would a post-mortem examination have revealed that she'd had children? That was, you know, throughout her life, you know, it was rumoured across England, elsewhere, that the Queen actually had had children, or that she had this womanish infirmity, which meant that she actually couldn't have children. And all her kind of dalliances and her procrastination and not marrying was actually this big disguise for the fact that she knew that if she married, she wouldn't be able to have children. And therefore, she knew that actually marrying would be a really bad idea. And so all of this was this sort of great construction and distraction from that. That's, you know, all these things are very sort of, you know, suggestive, and, you know, ultimately we don't know. But clearly the kind of the myth of Elizabeth and the mystique of Elizabeth, you know, goes on.
Thank you very much, Anna, for coming. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.